In the last 2 years, Ken Carson has released 2 albums that has changed the trajectory of his career, including AGC and More Chaos, with both of these albums being heavily focused around his aesthetic during this period, which I refer to as the Chaos aesthetic. And my name is SnippetMob, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe below. And today, I will explain Ken Carson's Chaos aesthetic, so let's get into it. Ken's Chaos aesthetic is clearly inspired by the horror genre and old creepypastas from the 2010s, and Ken has showcased that style in his music and visuals, which he first introduced to fans in mid-2023 via @agreatchaos, which was his spam account at the time. Some of the things he uploaded contain a lot of gory live leak inspired material, and some of the more prominent outfits that Ken wore during this time were Rick Owens' GIMP hoodies, GIMP tees, and the GIMP mask, with all of them being common motifs for this era, and something that has become influential for a lot of fans in the fashion scene, more notably Osama-san, who was heavily inspired by Ken and was oftentimes referred to as a clone of Ken, which was honestly reasonable to say at the time. Many fans were uneasy about his new direction for the Chaos aesthetic, but now looking back, I kinda agree with that statement, because it does feel edgy and too stimulated for one's mind to process. However, I also think that Ken did a great job discovering his style, and I personally believe that this aesthetic differentiates him from a lot of artists in the hip-hop industry, and the world he built for this style feels cohesive and interesting, and you can tell that this is something that Ken wanted to do for a while leading up to this stage of his career. And the early stages of development of his Chaos aesthetic date back to 2021 and 2022, with Ken being seen wearing FTOL outfits, which featured visceral graphics on tees and hoodies. Also, speaking of the horror genre, Ken is known to be a fan of slasher movies and horror films in general. Some films that Ken potentially watched and gravitated towards during the making of AGC and More Chaos were Rob Zombie horror films, such as the Halloween remake and Zombie's House of 1000 Corpses. Ken also referenced other horror films like Jennifer's Body and Green Room, which helped capture the feeling of his aesthetic. And for Ken's More Chaos rollout, his creative team amplified his horror aesthetic even more by spray painting blood on walls and cars, which drew inspiration from the Kill Bill 2 promotional campaign. And Ken also took inspiration from slam metal covers, which is a subgenre of death metal that emerged in the early 90s, and the genre's visual influence can be seen in Ken's aesthetic and some of his merchandise. And his album cover for More Chaos depicts a low-quality picture of Ken in a bloody shirt, and his overseas single cover shows a graphic picture of Ken's face, which further adds to the slam metal influences that inspired Ken. Now that the Chaos aesthetic has officially come to an end, the question I ask myself is whether Ken executed this aesthetic well. And to answer that, I think he did a great job of creating a visual world for the Chaos era, and I also respect his ability to immerse himself in the world of horror, considering that it's something not too many hip-hop artists have dabbled in. And as a fan of horror, I respect Ken for dabbling into that world, and I feel like more artists should do that as well. However, I wish that Ken and Nick Spiders had made this aesthetic feel more cohesive and creatively driven, because the music videos that are a part of this era are extremely lackluster and not very interesting at all. And this era lacks a lot of substance and overall feels all over the place, which is disappointing to see, because I believe that Ken could have made this aesthetic feel more monumental instead of posting basic fit pics and having a lack of promotion that doesn't sufficiently add anything to the era, especially since he had the budget to do so. So I don't understand why Ken didn't capitalize off this era like he should have. But I really wonder what's next for Ken in terms of aesthetic for his upcoming album titled The Experiment. And not too many of us know too much about what the sound is going to be like or any of that, because the name itself is a bit confusing. But hopefully he's capable of creating a cohesive aesthetic that can be better than his previous one. But time will tell, and hopefully we'll be able to see it soon. Now that the video has been wrapped up, I just want to say thank you guys for watching the video, and we're close to reaching 500 subs, so I really want to thank y'all for that as well, and we will reach that goal. And again, my name is SnippetMob, and I'm out.